All right, warm welcome, everybody. Please be comfortable. Settle in for today's practice. So for today, we're going to be exploring polarities. I'm going to call it polarity practice. And what I mean by that is the tendency to like one thing more than the other thing. The tendency to want one thing more than the other thing. The preference. And we're going to play with some polarities. I think it's going to be interesting. And it might go deeper than you expect. Let's see what happens. So a very simple example of a polarity could be you were planning to go out for a trip with your friends. It began to rain. You're very disappointed it began to rain. But there is someone who has a field of crops, maybe a farmer. This farmer is really happy that it rained. That same event, rain, made you so disappointed and made this farmer so delighted, so happy. The event rain is just the event. And how we respond to it, that is our preference. If you look deeply like this, every event in this world is actually quite neutral. It's our point of view that decides if it's good or bad. There were times in your life when something happened and you thought it was very bad. But now that you look back, you're not so sure it was bad. Maybe you even see it as a blessing. So as we look into our own lives, we see there are many events that are happening. And we may have a point of view of how things should be. But it's quite important to hold that point of view lightly, not tightly. Because that's not the only way it could be seen. It could be seen in many different ways. Somebody gave this interesting example of how if the bees disappear, the entire ecosystem collapses. If the ants disappear, the entire ecosystem collapses. If the plankton in the ocean disappears, the entire ecosystem collapses. If humans disappear, rivers run clean, forests grow up, grow all over up, forests grow up again, grow again. And as we saw during the lockdown, such amazing blue skies, the kind of blue skies we probably haven't seen our whole life. Human beings disappear, everything returns to balance, isn't it? So from the human point of view, of course, it's a great calamity if human beings disappear. But from the perspective of the ecosystem, it's not such a big calamity after all. So polarity practice is realizing that yes, there's this and there's that. it's our point of view, it's the place we stand that determines whether it's good or it's bad. It just is what it is, isn't it? There have been many, many people who have really suffered during this pandemic time. And yet it is undeniable that for many of us, it has also been a time of powerful growth, of powerful introspection. There has been a mental health crisis. At the same time, I have friends who are psychologists, and they say that not enough people are talking about how many people have had powerful breakthroughs in their life. So it's not as simplistic as it appears. So whatever assumptions we have about good and bad, right and wrong, more of this and less of that, it's nice to hold it lightly as opposed to tightly. I read somewhere that most of the inventions we enjoy today, the comforts we enjoy today, these things were invented, a large number of them were invented in the period between the beginning of the First World War and the ending of the Second World War. As you've heard before, necessity is the mother of invention. So what was some of the most tumultuous time in the last century, it's because of that that we enjoy so many things today. Because necessity was the mother of invention. People were forced to be creative and inventive. They were forced to maximize resources, come up with completely new ideas. For example, the computer I'm using now, it comes from one of the genesis of the computer, the modern computer, is the Turing machine, which was used to crack the Enigma code of the Nazis. It was developed by Alan Turing. So in the process of cracking that code, he came up with a sophisticated machine that was the foundation of the modern computer. You see, it took a war for us to be able to listen to each other right now. I could go on, there are so many examples. I'll give you one more example from my monastery. I was the bell ringer for some time in the monastery, which means I had to wake up earlier than the rest. The bell would ring at 3 a.m., believe it or not, 3 a.m. So at the bell ringer, I had to wake up at about 2:30 and go to the bell tower, climb up. I had to be very mindful, slightly treacherous steps. If you slip and fall, there's no one there to help you early in the morning. To walk up the bell tower. And then there was this long metallic bell, hollow tube. And I would take the root of a bamboo tree, the root of a bamboo tree, and I would strike that metal tube. It would give out a deep, harmonious sound, which would travel for miles and miles. This bell tower was purposely built above the tree canopy so that the sound would travel for a long distance. And we had to ring the bell exactly 3 o'clock in the morning. Even villagers would set the time of their watches based on when we ring the bells. Now, what's interesting about this bell is that it used to be a bomb. These were leftover munitions from the Vietnam War that were not used. America had bases in Thailand. And these leftover munitions, the villagers found a way to deactivate the bombs and to convert them into bells, temple bells. So what were designed to be bombs, create immense destruction and pain and death, are now, in many monasteries, they are temple bells. Isn't that amazing? That's an example of polarity right there. You would judge a bomb being a terrible, terrible thing. That same bomb has become a beautiful thing. brings the monks to practice every morning, creates a harmonious sound that goes for miles. No mud, no lotus. So countless examples like this. And even if you don't get an instant, immediate answer, don't give up so quickly. Stay with it. What you assume to be a terrible, terrible thing, with nothing good can come out of that. It's only because you're looking at it from one specific point of view. Knowledge is a point of view. Wisdom is viewing points. So in today's practice, I want you to come up with polarities, examples of this and that. And let's keep it real instead of getting abstract about it. Let's bring it to your life. For example, there's the polarity of I'm energetic and I am lethargic. A polarity of I am someone who is organized and disorganized. And someone who is very considerate and very, could even say cruel. What are the polarities that you struggle with in your own life? So if you feel like putting in the chat examples of polarities, you could either put them in the public chat or you could address it privately to me. Let's have some examples of polarities, this and that. Take up real examples from your life, things you struggle with. For example, we have a few examples coming. I'm ambitious and I'm lazy. I'm from being very concerned to being very much in surrender. I'm patient and I also lose my temper. I'm sometimes patient, I'm sometimes impatient. Procrastinate. And I also want to do things the right way. I'm courageous, and yet I feel fear. I'm sure and I'm confused. I'm consistent and I'm inconsistent. I'm strong and yet I'm vulnerable and emotional. Very calm and I get very angry. I'm happy and I feel low. All beautiful examples. I can be angry and I can bite you. And I can be calm as the ocean. I overreact when I should be calm. Sensitive and insensitive. Anger and calmness. Kind and indifferent. Beautiful. These are all great examples. Compassion and indifference. Great. So I'm not going to read all of them. We've got a sense of this. Many examples. I'd like you to sit with your palms up on your knees if possible. Just have your hands out and palms up. Take any one quality that you've chosen. For example, we have the quality of happy and sad. I care or I don't care. Take any one of those qualities and put it in your right hand. Your right hand represents one of those qualities. So for example, right hand represents kindness. And the other quality in the left hand represents, for example, indifference. Put one quality in the right hand, one quality in the left hand. And close your eyes if you like. Focus first on the right hand. Whatever quality you've chosen, doesn't matter if it's pleasant or unpleasant. What does it feel like? What does kindness feel like in the right hand? Or what does sadness feel like in the right hand? Whatever quality you've chosen, go with that. And fill your right hand with this quality. Tune into this quality. And gently switch to your left hand. What's the quality there? For example, someone's chosen indifference. What does indifference feel like in the left hand? And whatever quality you've chosen, doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. Feel it in your left hand and really feel it, make it strong and nice, very clear. no ambiguity. This is what it feels like. Now we're going to pendulate between both these qualities. So bring your attention to the right hand, feel it, and switch over, swing over to the left hand, feel that. 3, 2, 1, swing over to the right hand, feel that. And like this, the pendulum will keep on going, right to left, left to right. It's a slow pendulum, but it oscillates reliably between both the hands. Feel it in the right hand, feel it in the left hand. Right hand, left hand. And as this is happening, the pendulum keeps getting shorter in length, so it rises higher and higher. Right hand, left hand. Right hand, left hand. The pendulum is rising higher and higher. Keeps oscillating right hand, left hand. You're becoming aware of right and left, one after the other, alternating rather quickly. The pendulum keeps on rising until it goes towards the place it's suspended from, which is between your eyebrows. So now let the pendulum become smaller and smaller. It's suspended from between your eyebrows. Bring all your attention to what's called the third eye between the eyebrows, and just be quiet here. And the third eye represents the place where both of these polarities, opposites, have been harmonized. The right contains a bit of the left contains a bit of the right. They both contain each other. They both depend on each other. Their identity is based on the other. Keep your full attention on the third eye between the eyebrows and just rest over there. For once in your life, let go of the preference, this and that, and just be. Can you allow yourself that for the next 10, 15 seconds? Slowly the pendulum re-emerges and starts oscillating right and left and right. Keeps getting longer and longer, right and left and right. But this time something has shifted. You're not sure which one you like more. You're not sure which one's better. You've tasted their oneness. So you have a sense of ease. The pendulum could go right, the pendulum could go left. There's a sense of ease. There's no preference. It just is what it is. And to that extent, you are free. You're free from the bondage of wanting more of this and less of that. Less of that and more of this. It just is the way it is. For the next few seconds, take up the challenge, whatever two ideas you have. Take up the challenge of holding both of them simultaneously in your mind. Two opposite ideas. Hold them together. Just do it. Don't think too much. Just do it. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. The ability to hold two contradictory ideas at the same time. This is a fast way to move up levels of consciousness. As long as you're in the world of this and that, more and less, we will forever be confused. Let's get a little feedback before we go ahead. What was it like for you to do this experiment of the pendulum swinging and also the experiment of holding two opposite ideas at the same time? What is that like for you? Give me some feedback. Let's check how we're doing. Confused. Holding two together was heavy. Felt calm. Shockingly amazing experience. For the first time I could merge my duality into oneness. Feeling of acceptance. Puts things in perspective. A heavy load in the head was laid down. I did not feel attached to either. The ideas just diffused altogether, relaxed into light. It was very deep. Not feeling when coming down. The end result was peaceful. It's the best way to think nothing. I have a tool now to acknowledge the polarity within me. No feeling. I liked when you said that one depends on the other. My polarities were being creative and being rigid. Merging them was freedom. Nice. Feeling heaviness. Both sides became quiet, I think you mean. Good, we'll continue. I felt I lost the meaning of both. It didn't mean anything anymore. Yeah, powerful. Let me suggest another polarity to you. From this moment onwards, let's say your life branches out into two directions. And I know it's a bit of an extreme polarity, but we'll go with that, extreme polarity. So one direction your life will branch out is where you make what you believe are right decisions. So you eat what's right, you exercise in the right way, you speak in the right way, you think in the right way, you act in the right way, you have the right habits, you associate with the right people, you read the right books. I mean, you just think Mr. or Mrs. Right or Miss Right, you're just right. Everything's right. You sleep at the right time. You're more scientific about it. You sleep at the right time, you wake up at the right time, have your green juice in the morning, your house is super clean, and powerful visions and aims and goals, and you achieve them so beautifully. And you think big and you contribute to society. Whatever for you represents right. I mean, imagine there is one version of you that just makes the right decisions flawlessly every single time and keeps on building on each other. They say the magic of compound interest. So all these habits just keep getting better. You're saving money and you're investing right and you're contributing and you're donating and you're meditating and you're praying and everything that for you, these are just examples, what for you represents. You're living the right lifestyle. It's sustainable lifestyle, perfect parent and a sibling and relative and friend and citizen, and you name it. All right. So we have the journey of Mr. or Miss Right. And the other polarity, as you can imagine. So starting from, you do this meditation completely wrong. I don't even know if you should call it a meditation, but whatever it is. You do this practice completely wrong, starting from that. And then you sleep at the wrong time. You wake up at the wrong time. You eat the wrong foods. You have the wrong thoughts. You have the wrong company. Everything you can imagine, right? You have all the wrong habits. You don't save any money. And you do all the things that you yourself would consider to be wrong. And all of that compounds also, compound interest, keeps on expanding and expanding and expanding. So we have these two polarities of right and wrong, best possible life, worst possible life, most miraculous kind of life, expansive kind of life, most degenerate kind of life, this dystopian kind of life. All right. So palms are facing up. Any one hand. I want to break this assumption that good things happen on the right hand. Just because it's the right thing doesn't have to be the right hand. Could be the left hand. There's a prejudice about right-handed and left-handed. So I want to break that. You decide which hand. So any hand represents the path of right and bright, goodness and benefit and great habits, amazing life in every possible way. And just check how that feels. Check how that feels. Make it stronger. Make it stronger. Perfect health, perfect emotional health, perfect mental health, perfect spiritual health, perfect financial health, perfect relationship health, perfect community health, fully self-realized, fully self-actualized. I mean, you're just too good to be true, but you are true. And the other hand represents the opposite, all the wrong choices, starting from doing this meditation wrong to everything else in your day. You say the wrong thing, you do the wrong thing, you make the wrong choices. And that's the other hand. Notice how that feels. Notice how they feel. And now start to pendulate. Left hand to right hand, feel the right hand. Flowing back to the left hand, feel the left hand. Keep on pendulating, slow moving pendulum. Going over to the right hand, going over to the left hand. And the pendulum keeps getting shorter and shorter. And over the next 10 seconds, the pendulum will come to rest at its point of suspension, which happens to be, this time it happens to be 1.5 feet above the top of your head. Pendulum gets shorter and shorter over the next 10 seconds. Now go ahead and find that spot 1.5 feet above the top of your head. And the pendulum reaches its suspension point. And just be there at the point where both these polarities meet. Bring this point into sharp focus in your experience. What's it like to be at this point, 1.5 feet above the head, where both these polarities collide, both these polarities meet, both these polarities originate? And gently the pendulum reemerges. And over the next 25 seconds, it'll again oscillate all the way back down to both the palms, slowly oscillating. Now notice what happens on the right side, on the left side, right side, left side. Each time the pendulum is getting elongated, right and left, right and left. And what's it like to hold both these ideas simultaneously? The idea of the perfect life, the right decisions, and the idea of the very degenerate, almost wretched life, all the wrong decisions, holding both these ideas simultaneously. See what happens. Challenge yourself. Every time you collapse a polarity, you enter a new universe. You may imagine you're coming back to the same world, but you're not. You've entered a whole new universe with completely fresh physics. And the same old rules don't apply anymore. This is the game of polarity, this and that, more and less, high and low, right and left, this way and that way, more of this, less of that. You know, if you want to be fearless, the only reliable way to be fearless is to start collapsing your polarities one by one. Because what is fear? I hope that doesn't happen. Oh, really? What shouldn't happen? Oh, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope I don't get sick. I hope my loved ones don't get sick. I hope I don't lose everything. I hope I don't die. What is fear but that outcome? I hope that doesn't happen. Oh, really? What do you want should happen? Oh, the opposite of that should happen. Oh, really? Our work is to identify and collapse these polarities. Identify and collapse these polarities systematically, one by one. Each time you do it, you enter a new universe. Each time you do it, you're no longer bound by the threads of karma. You freed yourself. The whole point of karma was to teach you this lesson. It's not as you think it is. collapsing polarities, play of polarities. So let's challenge you this time. Take a polarity that you're very convinced exists, very strong polarity. Take something very strong. Something that you're sure, this, there is no resolution. For example, could be the person you most admire in this world, living or passed away, doesn't matter. And the person you least admire, in fact, you almost would say that they're evil, horrible person. I don't know if you've noticed, but evil is live spelled backwards. Devil is lived spelled backwards. These are mirrored qualities. Evolution starts with love spelled backwards. Silent and listen have the same letters. Earth and heart have the same letters. Anyway, that's a whole tangent. But I want you to take up a strong polarity, something that's strong for you, something that you're sure about, that these two things just cannot be reconciled. Take something that's really strong for you. I'll also take something. And let's do it again. This time you kind of know how to do it. You'll place one on the right hand, one on the left hand, and you'll swing up slowly all the way up. And the point of rest could be the eyebrows or could be above the head. You can decide that. And then you slowly come down again. And now you try to hold both ideas in your heart and your mind at the same time. See what happens. Let's do this practice. And keep going. Think of two really strong things, one in the right hand, one in the left hand. And let the pendulum swing. And feel what you're feeling in the right hand. Feel what you're feeling in the left hand. And let the pendulation happen, pendulating from one to the other. But you're so sure nothing good can come out of this. But you're so sure is the most amazing thing. And let the pendulum find its rest. And just stay there. And rest in that place where the pendulum is suspended from. And slowly bring the pendulum down again. What does that feel like? And now think of both things simultaneously. Holding both thoughts simultaneously. This is the path to freedom. Collapsing the this and the that, the yin and the yang, the Shiva and the Shakti, heaven and hell, heaven and earth, God and man, man and woman, boy and girl, Indian and non-Indian, high and low. This is how we clean up our act. Yeah, just concepts. You see them as just concepts. You notice how these polarities exist within you. Not sure why I'm going blank. Yeah, it's all right to go blank. Feeling restless, feeling the same. Yeah, anything that you come up with, that becomes a new practice, isn't it? Feeling restless versus feeling restful. Feeling the same versus feeling different. I like this practice versus I don't like this practice. Becomes a new polarity. Palms feel so heavy. Yeah. Palms feel heavy. Palms feel light. There was a time when they felt light. There's a time when they're feeling heavy. What is that polarity like? The shortcut way of doing this practice is you ask yourself, who am I without this story? Without the story of this or that, better or worse, more of this, less of that. Who am I without the story? For example, the story of the journey of doing what's right, 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 right. The journey of doing what's wrong, 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 wrong. Who are you without the story that that's wrong? So if you get diligent with this practice, it's going to really start cutting through your illusions at a very, very fast rate, very fast pace. Suddenly I feel like I'm accepting both sides. Yeah, it is true. Why? Because they exist. But they shouldn't exist, but they do exist. But it shouldn't be like this, but it is like this. We are called human beings. Being and human. At the level of human, we are always vulnerable, wanting more, wanting less. At the level of being, we're already complete. Yeah, so you will all have different experiences. Some of you are feeling light, some of you are feeling heavy. Some of you are feeling clear, some of you are feeling confused. Some of you are having a great practice, some of you are not having a good practice. But that's all right, because we are coming to a place where we are collapsing polarities. Polarity practice. Coming to a place where both polarities convene, collide, merge, and disappear. When all polarities disappear, this universe as well disappears. Right now, we could practice a polarity diffusing easily, but in real life situation, will we be able to diffuse the situation so easily? So one hand becomes easy practice during this time. One hand becomes difficult practice. Or maybe it becomes doing this is difficult versus doing this is easy. And now pendulate there. You see, whatever you're saying to me, I'm going to again bring you back to this practice. Notice how your confusion is coming because you want one thing more than the other thing. You want it to be easy in what you call the real life. And you're suspecting it's not going to be easy. And now you're disappointed because you wanted it. I want you to get you to a place where it doesn't matter. This or that, left or right, above or below. I'm just merging with this intelligence of life, with this broader mind. I'm just merging into that. Whatever you come up with, again, notice the polarity there. I think one of the best things I ever wrote is every time you see things as imperfect, you are bound. And every time you see things as perfect, you are free. You want to be bound? See them as imperfect. What is imperfect? Should be more of this, should be less of that. Oh, really? So you're smarter than God, is it? Yes, yes. It should be more of this and less than that. Oh, really? All right. Enjoy that. There's also the paradigm where everything is perfect. How can you say that? There's so much poverty. How can you say that? There's so much corruption. How can you say that? There's this and that. Oh, really? It shouldn't be this way. Oh, really? Where did you get that idea? No, no, I know it shouldn't be this way. Oh, really? Everything is perfect, including your desire to change it. That's also perfect. So there's no resistance. Every time you see everything is perfect, you're free. Every time you see things as imperfect, you're bound. Every time you see things as perfect, you're free. Test it out. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I'd love to be proven wrong. So this is polarity practice. Someone saying I dozed off in between. Very nice. Dozing off versus not dozing off. How do you know it was bad to doze off? Meant to doze off, you doze off. Meant to hear this, you hear this. Not meant to hear this, you don't hear this. Everything is perfect, including your desire to improve it. Everything is perfect, including the extent to which you understood this practice, including the extent to which you did not understand or did not even like this practice. That's also perfect. So this is very powerful. Polarity practice. Keep cleaning up. Keep cleaning up. You want to be free? Collapse the polarities. Even the final polarity, samsara and nirvana, that also has to be collapsed. Samsara fully penetrated is nirvana. samsara, this world, fully penetrated is nirvana. Nirvana, rightly understood, is samsara. Nirvana, rightly understood, is samsara. Like the two teardrops of the Tao, black and white. Black contains a bit of white. White contains a bit of black. And they swirl around each other. This contains that. That contains this. And this is a beautiful polarity practice we have done today. There are countless ways to do this, as long as you understand. It's about holding both polarities simultaneously, and at least for a little while, giving up the assumption that one is better than the other. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. This thought, that thought, and the higher thought. And that thought becomes a new thesis, antithesis. And this is why the highest thought is silence. And all polarities emerged, silence. The highest thought is loving silence, and silence loving. Loving silence, and silence loving. Beautiful. Last 5 minutes, I like to create an intention. And the intention is, and of course that can also become a polarity, as we all know. But the intention is that there are communities of people around the world that are dedicated to wisdom. What is wisdom? Wisdom is exactly this, looking beyond the polarities, peeping beyond the polarities. Communities of people dedicated to cleaning up all the assumptions, all the polarities in their stream of consciousness. And doing it in a fun way, why not? Why does it have to be so serious? We can enjoy it. We can enjoy catching each other. Imagine if we spend a day with each other, catching each other's polarities, pointing out each other's polarities. And even if you get embarrassed, even if you get humiliated, that's a new polarity. Welcome. Collapse that as well. What's going to happen? It's going to be like dominoes. It's going to be like a house of cards. The whole structure is going to collapse before you know it. The whole structure of who you think you are, what you think this world is, it's all propped up on polarities, assumptions, beliefs. It's all going to come crashing down. And what a wonderful sight that'll be. What a wonderful experience that'll be. Will it happen? Will we have such a community? Will we have such communities? Will it not happen? Is it good to have such communities? Is it bad to have such communities? That's also a polarity. There's nothing wrong in having a preference, as long as you hold it lightly, as long as you hold it playfully. You see? Clean up from the inside, then it doesn't matter anymore. Then you can choose to live here or live there, or do this or do that. Doesn't really matter. You've cleaned up from the inside. If you haven't cleaned up from the inside, the most seemingly wonderful thing becomes poison. Everything becomes poison. So clean up from the inside. Clean up, clean up, clean up. How do you clean up? you collapse the polarities. You identify the polarities, you collapse the polarities. You get enthusiastic about this process. You fall in love with this process. So if that is meant to be for you, if that is something that you value, amazing, beautiful freedom will be yours. And if it's something you don't value, it may not be yours. And how do we know that's a bad thing? We don't know if that's a bad thing. You know, I had this polarity of, I need to get enlightened soon. I need to get enlightened soon. And then my teacher said something so powerful. He said, the longer it takes, the better. I said, what? Longer it takes, the better? Why would you say that? He said, the one who gets there quickly is a very poor guide. The one who's lost his way 1,000 times, 10,000 times, 1,000,000 times is an excellent guide. Oh, amazing. The longer it takes, the better. Infinite patience is the fastest way. You see, today you've had a small dip, or maybe some of you had a big dip, into a field that is beyond left and right, up and down, good and bad, more and less, righteous and wrongous. You've taken a dip, you've taken a peek outside this illusory universe. Beautiful. Thank you all for joining, and have a lovely evening, day, wherever you are. Many blessings. Be well. Goodbye.